Hi everybody, my name is Nancy. I'm 18 years old. Each of you probably has some friends who look much younger than their biological age. My mother is exactly one of these people. All of our family members and friends know about her secret ability, and they would make up different theories on that subject. Some people think that she applies some very expensive and exotic creams for her skin rejuvenation. Other people think that she has developed some top quality healthy nutrition diet. Other people think that she's an immortal personality or even a vampire. Can you believe it? My mom is a vampire. I've never heard such a crazy thing in my life. But the more I listen to this crazy bullshit, the more strange evidence is just coming my way. For example, my classmates and my college teachers have never, ever seen my mother in the daylight sun. She has always been late to our school meetings, and she would come only in the evenings when it is already getting dark. So, to be honest with you, I should confess that I also never saw my mom in the daylight sun. During daytime, she would always draw the curtains in our house, and she would work from home and would only go out in the evening time. She would always tell me that she's working a lot and she doesn't want to be disturbed. Sometimes she would also go out during nighttime, and she would always lock her room then. Her life has always been full of mystery. My mom is a single parent, and she's a breadwinner for our family. She was born in South Korea, and then she would come to the United States to pursue her professional career. Then she got married and gave birth to a daughter, which is me. I do not remember my dad, as he left our family shortly after I was born. My mom would take 3 jobs to take care of our family. I would always stay with our nanny. My mom would come home late in the evening. The only thing that I remember for sure is that my mom would not change in years to come. She always looked very young. She always looked much younger than her biological age, but I never paid too much attention to that. But one day, a very strange thing happened. So, I woke up in the middle of the night as I wanted to drink a glass of water. When I came to the kitchen, I saw that there was light in my mom's room. I was surprised. She was not asleep yet. The door to her room was closed, but I looked in the door keyhole. My mother was typing something on her laptop, and then, suddenly, when she turned her face to the door, I was shocked to see that she had red eyes and sticking out dental fangs. I screamed in horror and ran back to my room. I locked my room door from inside, and I shook with horror. I could not sleep that night. I had horrible nightmares. When the morning came, I heard my mom having breakfast in the kitchen, so I decided to go and talk to her about what I saw last night. I went to the kitchen. My mom was having coffee. She looked totally fine. Her eyes looked totally and perfectly normal. I didn't see her sticking out fangs either. I said hello and told her a couple of funny jokes to make her smile. She made a big smile and her teeth were all good. There were no fangs. It should have been my vivid imagination then. I was just making up things. Could it just be a bad nightmare? I took a chair and sat near the window. It was a nice sunny morning. I opened the window curtains and the sun came in and lit my mom's face. And at this moment, I looked at her and I was surprised to see that her skin was extremely pale. It was almost white. I asked her why she's so pale, and she told me she doesn't feel very well. She served me my breakfast and then she left and locked herself in the room. I wanted to ask her why she didn't feel well, but I was already late for school and I had to hurry up. After school, I told my friend Gwen about my bad nightmare last night. Gwen was a big fan of monsters, zombies, and all that kind of magic. She was thinking of becoming a fantasy writer. Gwen listened to me and said she was sure my mom was a vampire. She felt really excited about that. What a sensation! But I was not excited at all. So Gwen suggested that we keep an eye on my mom and watch out. To begin with, I invited my mother to have lunch in a restaurant during weekend. She agreed. When we arrived in a restaurant, she made an order and then she went to a lady's room. While she was away, I quickly took a small packet with garlic from my pocket and added it to her food plate. When my mom came back, she started eating, but then she stopped and frowned. "What's wrong with my food?" she said. "This food has a bad smell." "Is it all spoiled?" she asked. She got really angry and called a waiter. She blamed him for serving spoiled food, and she told him she would complain to his manager. But the waiter was really frightened and upset. He apologized and took her plate away. But my mom was really furious, and she left the restaurant. I ran after her and into the street, but she just disappeared. The next day, my mom spent all her time in her room again. She locked herself in until last night. And then, when it was already nighttime, I went to sleep and she went out of her room, put on her coat, and went out into the street. I had no idea where she was going. I called Gwen and asked her to come and see me. She arrived immediately. I showed her where my mom's room was. Gwen said we need to open it and have a look at what's inside. So she opened the door very easily with her lockpick. We got inside and started our investigation. In the far corner of the room, I immediately noticed some big-sized item covered in black upholstery. I pulled the cloth down and I screamed in horror. It was a coffin. I carefully opened the lid and touched the upholstery inside. It was still warm, as if someone had recently slept there. Meanwhile, Gwen searched in my mom's papers on her desk, and suddenly she found a strange manuscript, a torn page from her diary. The words were all written in red ink. Or was it human blood? I read these words and I felt horrified. The words said the following: "My daughter suspects something, but I don't want to make her into a vampire because eternal life means eternal suffering, and I cannot take it anymore. I hope there is some superpower that I can put and apply to end my suffering and grant my soul an eternal place." When I read this prayer, I had no doubts that my dear mom was a real vampire. The last place that Gwen and I searched for in my room before we left, in my mom's room, was a trash basket near the door. There was a lot of torn paper there. I pulled out one of the paper pieces and it said Central Park. So that should be exactly the place where she would wait for and attack her poor victims. We decided to get there as soon as possible, but we needed some magic tools to defend ourselves. Gwen said she had a lot of magic items at her house. We ran to her place as fast as we could. When we came to her house, we found a huge silver cross, wooden stakes, UV lamps, and holy water. I had no idea where Gwen got all that stuff, but I did not care. So we got all these things with us and hurried up to the Central Park. When we arrived at the park, it was already dark and it was hard to navigate. We looked around us and suddenly we saw some motion behind the trees. We ran there fast and suddenly I saw my mother there. She was floating above the ground like a bird. Does she practice dark magic and witchcraft? I was dumbstruck. I could not believe my eyes. While we were standing there in total astonishment, a woman passed us and she just went right there where my mom was. I wanted to scream and wanted to stop her, but Gwen just put her hand over my mouth to keep me silent. In a few seconds, my mom saw her and she attacked her straight away and bit into her neck. I was paralyzed with fear and disgust, and I could not believe it was real. My mother is a real monster, and she's attacking and killing people at night. I sent Gwen to call the police, and I grabbed a wooden stake and ran after the vampire. My eyes were filled with tears, and I was crying from despair. I was having flashbacks of our happy life that my mom and I used to have together. It's all ruined now. She's a vampire, and she is very unhappy, and she's suffering from it. She has become a monster, and there is nothing she can do about it. I should save her from this nightmare. I was running fast after her, and suddenly I saw her standing by an old white tombstone. She was quietly sobbing, her lips red with the victim's blood. I made a big jump with my wooden stake to hit her, but then, all of a sudden, a voice shouted loud, "What's going on here? This is not in the script." Then suddenly the lights came on and I saw people with cameras everywhere. I felt terrified and I fainted. When I finally woke up, I saw a face with sticking out fangs right in front of me and I started screaming out loud. But then I heard my mom's voice. She calmed me down and told me everything. She was not a real vampire. She is an actress who plays the role of a vampire. She took off her sticking out fangs and colored lances, and her white skin was just a special artistic makeup. She did not levitate, but it was a visual effect. She was balancing off the special safety steel cable. It was all set up for her. The actress who she bit was also all fine, and she was on the cast. But what about the other evidence? She actually explained it all. She was allergic to garlic, so she couldn't take food in the restaurant. I took her last time. The coffin in her room was made from cardboard. It was just a decoration and an inspiration for the role. My mom was a very talented actress and a screenwriter. She would lock the door to her room so that I wouldn't find out about her new job, as she was never home at night because she went to the rehearsals to practice to get used to her new role. She was really excited about her new created job, but I was also happy for her, and she was tired as she was having 3 jobs and worked long hours to provide for our comfortable living. That's why I would never see her come during the day. She would be on her job then. But even though she was really busy, she would still pursue her dream. She did it in secret though, as she was afraid to tell me. But how can you explain her unusual young looks? It's a very simple secret. My mom is Korean, so she has this very special Asian genetics. In fact, I inherited it from her, and I will also look very young throughout all of my life. So this movie was released with my mom as a lead actress, and it has become a huge success. My mom earned a lot of money, and we are leading a great life right now. My mom is getting very popular, and she's getting plenty of new roles to play monsters and vampires in fantasy films. And in fact, she would create such a true, convincing, and realistic image of a vampire that you would really believe it. She's extremely talented. So everything is going great right now, but sometimes I still get my stressful memories from the past, especially in the nighttime. And sometimes I even keep garlic under my pillow as a magical amulet. I know it's weird, but I can't help it. Did you like my story? Write in the comments what you think about it. Subscribe to the channel and give it a like. See you soon!